Hi, girlfriend.
Hey, girlfriend.
Oh, I'm Fleshay Hesh. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm Jessica Neighbor. Also, so glad you're here. We
We
are
are girlfriends
girlfriends.
of a certain age.
Whoop!
So, girlfriends, today we are going there on boundaries. We have been reading this book,
Mhm.
Boundary Boss, and we have some things to say about it. Now, Jessica and I both fully admit and acknowledge that we are card carrying, recovering good girls, as stated by our shirts,
Mhm.
recovering good girls. And what that means to us is that we are done with the people pleasing.
Mhm.
And part of that's being in midlife, part of it is just that being burned, part of it is just
Mhm.
being exhausted
Mhm.
from having so many things that we are doing to take care of other people better than we take care of ourselves. So we're done doing that. And a big part of that, as we're learning in real time, is about the boundaries.
Oh, boundaries, boundaries. Also, the book is by Terry Cole for you listeners.
Thank you.
And the link to the book is below. So, truthfully, I have not gotten a copy of the book yet, but I started listening to an interview with her, and I'm following her on Instagram. And already, Terry Cole is just bringing it as far as actionable things we can do around boundaries. And one thing that is just such a good reminder for myself is this is a muscle. This is a muscle that we work out all the time.
Yes, in every context.
And she's really wonderful at bringing up the ways that we're going to get tested and that we're going to question ourselves and then like ways to move through that. So it's not like, I'm going to teach you how to be a boundary boss. Done, check. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is an ongoing practice.
Right. This is the kind of book that I know I will read probably 3 to 4 times.
Yes.
And I think that's something that we generally don't do. When there's a new skill we're trying to learn, potty training our kids, or how to run a business, or how to, whatever, sell a house,
Mm-hmm.
we will read a little something and we get a
Mm-hmm.
few like bullet points and we think we have enough and that we're experts,
Right.
and then we'll jump out and do it. And oftentimes we'll find ourselves flailing,
Yeah.
right? And what we really need to do is read a book thoroughly, oftentimes
Indeed.
talk about it and
Mm-hmm.
read it again and
Mm-hmm.
maybe again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those books that I know I will need to read again.
So give us the highlights and a little bit of like your favorite things that you're pulling from it. What should girlfriends like glean from this book so that they're fired up to go read it themselves?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, this idea of boundaries being something natural and normal, and
Mm.
that it's actually, and we heard this from another guest
Mm.
another time, that it's
Yes.
actually a gift because it's showing other people how they can be in relationship and partnership with you.
That's right. That was on our How to Be a Badass episode. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was really inspiring. And then also this idea that boundaries with ourselves. Right. And so,
Mm.
because there's so many opportunities, we make so many choices in a given day. There's so many little teeny tiny things that actually over time end up being pretty significant things.
Yes.
That if we had some better boundaries, some skills for communicating those boundaries with others, we
Yes.
could save relationships, we could save ourselves, save our energy. That's something
Mm.
I'm really focused on in my life right now. And now that
Hmm.
I'm middle-aged,
Yeah.
I only have so much energy.
Oh,
I only have so much
definitely.
care I have for things.
Right. It really, for like recovering good girl people pleasers, this time of life is kind of, it's going to make or break you because you're going to either spread yourself too thin and just be exhausted or finally be like, I am forced to draw some boundaries because I can't stay awake for all of this.
Exactly. One of the things that Jessica and I were talking about before we hit record is that Terry Cole, and I know you're listening to her now, I'm following
Yeah.
her. She's good at teaching and modeling boundaries without being a bitch. And
Mm.
that really struck me. I first learned about her on a podcast myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to her and I was bewildered. There was some cognitive dissonance in my head. Like, I don't get it. She's talking about this, but she's being so calm and pleasant, and there's a kindness to it. So, and that is something that I feel like I have not learned in my life, had
Mm-hmm.
until very recently,
Mm-hmm.
that I could set a boundary and be strong, or maybe even not like somebody and not resent the hell out of them.
That's right. Well, it reminds me of the shorter book that I wrote, and we have a podcast on it called How Nice Women Can Have Difficult Conversations. We
Yes.
can still remain nice, right? And we see this playing out in our culture that people are getting less and less nice. There has been some name calling lately in politics that is just, ooh, gross, right? But we can absolutely still draw boundaries with like grace and with kindness, and that it is really a kind thing to do for other people and for ourselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I would say for me, the part of the book that has been most impactful has been really about dealing with overcoming the healing that I need to go through around the boundaries that I haven't set in the past.
Oh, so what does that mean? Forgiving yourself for not having drawn them?
Yes, the forgiveness, also just an understanding I didn't have the skills.
Exactly.
Nobody taught me how to have excellent boundaries that allowed you to have your sovereignty and me to have my sovereignty, and that's okay. You know,
Mm.
I started learning this more like in third grade with the mean girl culture of,
Mm.
oh, you're not aligned with me, then you're dead to me.
Mm.
You know, I mean,
Right.
and my understanding is that in the girl culture, that's actually gotten a lot worse. And
Mm.
so that's how I was trained. That's
Oh,
how
yeah.
I was raised. You're not on my page, then you're against me.
We don't get a clear lesson in boundaries. I mean, there should be a class on boundaries, right? That's like so important for relationships, for ourselves, um, all around all kinds of things. So we're all kind of figuring this out on our own. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's so great that there's this book. And is she also specifically writing it for women, or is it open to anyone who wants to be a boundary
I
boss?
think it's open to anyone. I feel like it's written for women.
Uh-huh.
That's my
From her point of
that's
view.
my
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Yeah.
That there's a way that, because I think that, I guess I'll be a little stereotypical here. I think more men are taught how to have good boundaries,
Mm.
or they naturally know. Like both of my sons they're pretty good boundaries. I don't
Mm.
like that.
Mm.
Don't do that again. I don't want that. And I don't see them people pleasing. And it could be too the way I'm raising them, because
Yeah.
I would feel like a pretty big failure if my kids, you know, were people pleasing themselves away. Not that
Mm.
they don't do some of that, because they do. And so we're working on that. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like their relationship to their own sovereignty and
Mm-hmm.
boundaries are so much better than what I had.
Yeah.
And I think it's so much of what parenting is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Part of it's that healing of like giving what we didn't get,
Mm.
um, in addition to giving what they need,
Yeah.
right? Because you and I each have two kids, and so they need very different things,
Right.
and they're always shifting and changing as we move into these teen years. And so I think that for me, to me, this book and this experience is uniquely a female one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. And I think that one thing I know when I was in therapy was that he would remind me that some of the people pleaser skills and reading the room and, adapting, he said were survival
Oh,
techniques when
yes.
you were a kid. So we have to remember that if we were doing these things for 10, 20, maybe even into adulthood years, it's going to take a while to undo these things, to build up this other muscle, to recognize when that old habit rears up its head. So again, like from what I know from Terry Cole, she really does talk about how it's an ongoing practice. And yeah, if it took us that long to build that skill up, it's going to take that long to build up another one.
Exactly. Exactly. And to have someone like Terry Cole who we can look to, because you can watch her on a podcast, you can watch her in
Mm-hmm.
action, you can just do a search for her, and
Mm-hmm.
we have some links below here actually. You can just click on those. But watch her
Mm-hmm.
body language. Watch how she doesn't tense up and
Mm.
like get angry when she's
Mm.
modeling. She's got scripts and phrases and things that we can say. She's giving us tools for our toolbox, our tool belt that we
Mm-hmm.
can take out, because I know most of my life I only had a hammer, and so then
Exactly.
everything looked like a nail, and so I just used that one tool, that one strategy that I had, which was in my case usually blowing up after I had taken too much.
I think that's a very common thing. I think we still, unfortunately, just see this all or nothing approach, right? That you're either a pushover or a steamroller, right? You're
Mm,
either the bully or the bullied,
yeah.
and that neither of those fit anyone to a T, right? So we need to find that really happy, graceful medium. But yeah, it's you only have the tool you knew what to do with. I was very similar. Okay, okay, okay. Ah! You know, at some point we're gonna blow up, and then you don't even know why you're blowing up, which then I remember for myself would reinforce of this thing of like, well, getting mad sure isn't a good thing. Look how that blew up.
Well, right. And then the person that you blew up at, do they have emotional intelligence? Do they have the ability to handle a difficult conversation?
Right.
So I've had people where I blew up and they were like, "Oh, honey, you're so I had no idea you were this upset."
Mm,
And it's like, "Oh, it's safe for me to have my feelings here?"
right.
What? And talk about a corrective experience.
Yeah.
But the average person that
Right.
I've had difficulty with did not have that,
No, could not tolerate
could
that.
not tolerate it,
Right.
and then resented the hell out of me
Right.
for blowing up or having
Right.
a feeling or not being aligned with them or seeing the world the way they did.
Yeah.
And so we even more so have to take care of ourselves,
Yeah.
have the boundaries,
Yeah.
because the average person that you are probably interacting with, your boss, a family member, some pain in the butt in your life,
Mm-hmm.
probably doesn't have the skills to even deal with your blow up that may be coming. So I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I there's the other thing that really struck me about this boundaries conversation at this stage of life. I find it easier than I think I would have even 10 years ago. Because I've always been a little bit of a self-help junkie. I
Mm-hmm.
started reading like Deepak Chopra when I was 20, and I
Mm-hmm.
just been off at the races ever since. And so I think there's a way that I would have loved this book,
Yeah.
but not really used it.
Yes. Right.
In fact, I'm quite certain I've read things about boundaries. And
Mm-hmm.
here I am at 51, just feeling like, yeah, I'm getting better at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a whole lot better. And the thing that I'm mostly better at is noticing when there's a boundary violation.
Right. The other thing that I find is an interesting thing I'm developing is noticing when it's happening in real time, also noticing after the fact, right? So we've talked on another pod in here around being the recovering people pleaser, the recovering good girl, to be once you've been with someone, when you leave, to ask yourself how you feel after. Do you feel like it was really a fun exchange? Do you feel like there was a way where some boundary was getting pushed? And just take a moment to notice that. If you feel like you got flooded somehow in that conversation,
Mm,
I find that really helpful. One thing that I'm loving is there'll be things that happen in the moment now that I used to deny myself to have a reaction to, where I'll have a reaction now and I'll go, check, noted, right?
mm.
Something right there. And trust that instinct. Whether I can unpack it in the moment or not, I don't know, but I'm going to be like, noted, check, right? Also, if it's a situation around boundaries where something's getting asked of you, because we know so often women, either being the mother, you're carrying a huge workload, or at work, oftentimes women are asked to do more things. Take that moment and say, I'll get back to you. Buy yourself some time. I'm
Mm.
just like playing around with that lately, like not doing the knee jerk reaction to like responding right away with a yes, or not responding right away in the email until I have a moment to think about it and think through how I want to react to that. And that is like a delay tactic. But I find for us recovering good girls who have that knee jerk people pleasing instinct in us, that's been really, really helpful.
Right. Also, I mean, I think difficult people are trying to like get us.
Oh, they sniff that out in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So to be able to buy time with
Mm-hmm.
someone who's like, whatever.
Yeah.
A thing that happens a lot is women being asked to be the note taker in a meeting, right? And it's like, I know that generally I've been like, sure, I'll do it. But then realizing, why do I always offer?
Yeah.
Is there someone else who could do it? And maybe I don't have to jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe we let Zoom be the note taker today.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of ways around it, but to, yes, have those delay tactics, because difficult people, sometimes codependent, definitely narcissists, will try to ask questions that try to like get you into some kind of knotted tangle.
Absolutely.
And Terry Cole has this great phrase. What was it? Why would you want to ask me that? When asked and invited into some weird tangle of a conversation, like some kind of boundary violation or
Mm.
implying that you're not a good person or something, to just ask back another question with genuine curiosity. Why would you want to ask me that? And she said, in her experience, now I haven't tried this yet because I
Mm.
just learned about it over the weekend, but she said that most times when that question is asked to the
Mm-hmm.
person who's trying
Mm-hmm.
to like get you into a mess,
Mm-hmm.
they realize the inappropriateness or that they were being passive
Mm.
aggressive or aggressive in
Mm-hmm.
some way, and then they get embarrassed,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right, because you're asking what their motive is.
Exactly.
And if they're actually like good intentioned, well intentioned, they should be able to explain their motive.
Exactly. But most cases people cannot. So that's where I've often been
Mm.
hung up when somebody codependent, somebody
Mm-hmm.
unhappy, somebody difficult or narcissistic
Mm-hmm.
will try to get me into those questions.
Yes.
Don't you care about me? Don't
Mm.
you? Don't I
Mm.
thought you were a family person. I thought you were a good person. I thought you loved animals, or
Mm.
like
Mm.
something that kind of like gets you into a tailspin. And then to be able to actually have something to say that allows you to stay in your, I call it staying in my skin,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think people are inviting us to be outside of our skin all the time, kind of teetering and like unbalanced
Yeah.
and not solid. And I think Terry Cole is doing this really beautiful modeling for us
Mm-hmm.
that we can stay in our skin, we can stay graceful, we can stay calm,
Mm-hmm.
and we can take care of ourselves and we can make that boundary.
Yes, I love that. In the interview I was listening with her, she was talking about when you do actually do that successfully and you find a statement and you find something where you hold your ground, don't be surprised later on if you actually question that. She said that's part
Mm,
of the process.
mm,
And to just be aware that that's going to happen again, because this is like a muscle you've developed, you'll learn to trust it more. But if it was not something that you commonly did in your history, it would make perfect sense for you to go, well, oh gosh, should I have just said yes? Oh, maybe I shouldn't have canceled on that person. Oh, maybe I could fit that into my schedule.
mm.
To be aware that that will come up and that that is just part of the process, and to just like trust that what you did is fine, and like give that a moment. So just to realize that it's there's so many like little micro steps in boundaries, and that that's okay. It's like this moment to moment experience, and I think all of us have this like want or desire to just make it simple and clean cut, and it's just a thing, but it's nuanced, and that's okay. So I love how
Mm.
she prepares us for even the little questioning afterwards that comes up, and then that the more we trust it, the less that questioning will become.
Right. Absolutely. A thing I've been working with a lot is just telling my closies
Mm.
what I'm up to. I'm telling the world too, apparently, with my Good Girl Recovery. And so telling my friends that I'm working on boundaries, that I'm working on
Mm.
not people pleasing. How do I stay myself and take care of myself? And there's that phrase, I remember hearing this probably in my 30s,
Mm.
and I loved it. I could really hung my hat on it, although I didn't always know how to engage with it, which is if somebody has to be uncomfortable, it doesn't have to be me. I heard
Oh,
that and I was like, what? It blew
wow.
my mind.
Wow.
But now I'm like, oh, now I totally get that. Oh, that person wants me to be uncomfortable because they don't
Mm.
want to be uncomfortable. But what they're uncomfortable about is not mine to fix.
No.
And that's where therapy has helped me immensely. Having amazing friends has helped me immensely. People I can bounce these things off of and share that with so that I'm not rattling around with it in my own head,
Yeah.
just kind of being in my own circular experience, but to get the input of a friend. This thing happened. Jess,
Yeah.
what would you have said? What do
Yeah.
you think?
Yeah.
Did I overreact? Like, I'm really working on being self-aware
Yeah.
and noticing when I'm making a mess of things. And so that's so much of what this work is. And I really feel like she's got a full arc for us. She really
Mm.
ties it all up so beautifully to help us stay in our skin and
Ah,
say the things and not sell ourselves out.
God. That would just, that's just so healthy. That's just such a great way to live. It's such a gift that we give everyone around us and ourselves. And I just think we'll be a happier, more authentic person, which is just wonderful. So this book sounds amazing. I think we all should read it and respond and let each other know how it's landing for us. So I'm definitely going to go and try to find a copy and read this. Uh, Boundary Boss.
Boundary Boss by
Boundary
Terry
Boss.
Cole.
I love it.
And girlfriends, let us know in the comments, how is this landing for you? Tell us a story of a time when you were really successful with boundaries, or tell us a time when it didn't happen at all. But what you are thinking about it now, how you would rehandle it now with a few more skills. And definitely get the book. The link is down below. Like and share. If you have a girlfriend working on this issue, please share this episode with her, because this is how we support and show our love for one another, by bringing each other forward in really gentle, loving, supportive, and positive ways.
Oh my gosh, that's how we can have these real lasting friendships. Every friendship is going to require boundaries. All right. No, friendships, relationships are not boundaryless. So what a gift if we can draw boundaries and be honest with each other. I just think that is going to just make us all that much closer. I'm all for it. I think everyone on earth should get a copy of this book.
Absolutely. Or what I've been sitting with too is like, setting boundaries is friendly.
Yeah.
Setting boundaries feels good to everyone. And you know me, I often say I'm looking for the win-win in situations.
Yes.
And this is where that starts. By having good boundaries, then everyone can win.
Oh, that's right, because they know where we stand. No,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So good reminder for people pleasers, right? People can't read our minds. We gotta say the things.
I love it, and I love you.
You too, honey.
Girlfriend, thank you for being here with us today. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.